Are you breaking these unclear KDP rules? Oh, I've got a few of them today. Let's go over to some viewer comments. One of them says, when you say you can't have two accounts, I have one Amazon account for my day-to-day purchases only, and the other is for my published books on KDP. Is that okay? I don't sell anything on my personal account. Yeah, you're gonna be just fine. Just be very careful about when you're logging into, say, the customer account and then when you're logging into your KDP account, because you don't want to mistakenly go and log into a KDP account with your customer account number, because it's going to start a new account. And you don't want to have more than one KDP account. It's against terms of service. But that's not enough, because there's actually been more questions about this. So another one says, I have one account I use as a consumer and one account I use for KDP. Is that bad? Okay, same thing. You're going to be just totally fine if you have two separate ones. I would recommend having the same one for your Amazon account and KDP account, but that's just personal preference. You can do whatever you want so long as you aren't getting more than one account. Now, the next one was, what about a husband and wife under the same roof? Can they each have their own KDP account? Yes, actually my wife and I have both had our individual Amazon KDP accounts. The important thing to take note of is we have different tax ID numbers because we both run our own separate businesses, and we have our own business accounts to where the funds are going there. Now, we're going to share the same address, obviously, at home, but that's not going to be an issue. Same thing, IP address, we share the same IP address, never been an issue. We reached out early on and made sure with Amazon KDP, hey, is this cool? And they were 100% happy with it. Now, this next one comes from a good place, I'm sure. And sometimes people get terminated, but they ask, can you open another account? No. You are, as soon as you're done, you're done. That's it. As soon as they close you out, you don't go over and open another one, because here's the thing is, they will find you out. I've known of so many people who have gamed the system, got kicked out, tried to come back in, got caught again, got kicked out. Just stay out. If you, for some reason, felt that you have had wrongful termination, then fight it, push back. And it's so important that you don't just roll over and say, well, that's it, or, oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and open up another account. And that's not going to work. If you want that account bad enough, get it open back up, work with them. Do you know what to do when you get your books blocked? I'm having the worst experience with 3 books and a series of journals that got blocked due to copyright to the cover image, text, and/or metadata, even though my other 9 journals are fine and dandy. I emailed them for the past 2 weeks and only got weirder with them at one point saying one word in the title is copyrighted, which is bull. I tried to play by the rules, then wanted to edit the journals, but since they're blocked, I can't do anything to them. Not even after I emailed them about it. Nothing happened. They only blocked them again? Like, what's happening? I really don't want to have those blocked books on my bookshelf and/or on my website, so any ideas? Okay, so when they block a book, you may want to find out specifically why they did it. And you're going to have to keep pushing and pushing on something like that, because if you don't understand it, then hopefully they can explain it to you. So if it's something like images that have a copyright on it, then chances are very likely all you got to do is just prove that you have the licensing for that specific image. That's obviously common sense, but some people don't understand that. Sometimes it's the smallest thing whenever they ask for proofs. Now, when it comes to blocked books, though, in general, be careful because that comes in big red lettering in there, and it stays there forever. Like, it doesn't get pulled out, nor do they plan on pulling it out. It's kind of like your scarlet letter. You're going to have to wear that thing. I had a blocked book once, and, well, quite frankly, I couldn't fight it because it was in violation of their terms and conditions, and they showed me why. So there's that. I used a crayon image in one of my low-content books and have been instantly terminated for copyright issues. Understandable. I mean, it is my fault. Crayon, being a trademark brand, just slipped my mind, but I thought a warning or suspension would have been more accommodating than an instant termination. Well, I'm glad that you're self-aware enough to know that you did something wrong. Unfortunately, KDP has had a storied history with a lot of black hat tactic folks out there, some ne'er-do-wells, if you will, that have gamed the system, and so they just have a zero tolerance policy for some of these types of things. If it is a trademark term, you should not be using it. If it's a trademarked image, you should not be using that. So like images like logos and things like that. You don't want to be putting a registered trademark trademark like the Nike swoosh over onto your book because you don't have the right to use that. So yeah, just don't use trademark stuff and if you're really concerned, just search up if something's trademarked and you'll be able to find out real quick, can I use this in my publication or not? And don't just base on what you're using on what other people are doing. Like, oh, I see this person's doing it over here. No, it just doesn't work that way. You know, as soon as you get busted, you can't go, well, they did it too, because they're not going to hear that type stuff. What if you're relaunching a book? I published a horror book on KDP back in 2016, ended up being able to hire an editor after the fact, and I ended up unpublishing the book a few months later. Spent the last several years rewriting the book and working with an illustrator, and I'm planning to relaunch the book as a new edition in October. The unpublished one from 2016 is still findable if you search for it, but I don't want to republish it with that. I want to create an entirely new project, so I'm not sure if KDP would consider that a duplicate. You should be fine when you're going into second or third or fourth editions, but what I would recommend to you, now this is not like a policy thing for Amazon, this is just me recommending this to you, that if you're leery about putting up a second edition or a third edition, I understand your reservations. So reach out to KDP support and explain to them that you plan to do that, because there's going to be some content, actually quite a bit of the content, that is going to be duplicate. So you don't want to get in trouble with that. And I think you're right. And if you had a first edition still published, I definitely would delist it. But in an instance where you still see your print book up, that's for third-party sellers. So you already unpublished it, you delisted it. It's no longer accessible. The only things that are accessible are the secondhand copy. So for the third-party sellers, if they happen to have a used copy, they can sell it on Amazon. I just got my account suspended due to publishing a book with rights I don't necessarily have, but I didn't know at first. But Amazon didn't publish the book. It was blocked. That's why I couldn't change anything about it. If I got my account back, how am I supposed to change anything about the book? Unpublish it or change things about it? Is it even possible? Well, if your account got terminated for using somebody else's copyright, then yeah, there's no coming back from that. There is no explanation that you're going to be able to give to them that they'll feel is sufficient. Using somebody else's copyrighted work is definitely illegal. It's not something you should be doing. And if for some reason, like they do give your account back for whatever reason, immediately delist the books that you are using the copyright for, go into that listing and upload a completely different manuscript. It can be a blank manuscript of some sort. Just make sure that you're making good on that with them and you're cleaning out that type of stuff and you aren't selling it anymore, because quite frankly, if you get shut down for stealing somebody else's work, then I guess you got it coming to you. I've been publishing since 2018. I write all of my own content, so when I got an email alleging I'm publishing work I don't own the copyright for, I was shocked. I've sent Amazon all the evidence I have that I wrote my book, including the Google Doc I wrote the book in with the timestamp and date. After a week searching the Kindle store, I discovered someone has almost word for word copied my book. Their subtitle is my book's title. I've notified Amazon of this and reiterated that I published my book in 2020. The stolen copy was published this month. They will not accept I'm the owner of the content and are threatening to close my account. The KDP content review team practices need looking into and changing. They're adding insult to injury with their copy-paste replies. I agree. And if you guys are, you got your popcorn, you're sitting, you're settling into this little story here, it has an update. So long story short, I managed to get the stolen book taken down and KDP have emailed me to say my book is available in the Kindle store. I can't tell you what evidence KDP eventually accepted, but here are the things I sent. So this is the part, folks, I want you to kind of pay attention to, because we're getting some tips from people that are going through a similar situation that you might be going through. So at any rate, copyright. Initially rejected it as it listed my name, not my pen name. A timestamped Google Doc of me writing the book, a signed affidavit by me declaring I wrote the book, screenshots of me publishing the book wide in 2020, and my ISBN number used for the print edition. I really don't have anything additionally that I could put onto this that this viewer already had shared, so thank you very much to that subscriber. I do appreciate you sharing some of this. But what I would say is, if you are wrongfully terminated or suspended based on something that you clearly have a copyright for, fight it. You need to push back. Don't just roll over and say, well, they said I stole someone's copyright. If you clearly didn't take someone's copyright, fight for it. I recommend highly, if you are going to take your business serious and you want to safeguard it, get something like the Alliance of Independent Authors membership. By the way, you can go to dalelinks.com/ally, that's ALLI, and they actually have a service to where they will help you if you've been wrongfully terminated. So long as you're following by the rules and you're being ethical about your business, they will help you out. Can't recommend them enough. Again, dalelinks.com/ally. What happens when Amazon puts your book in the wrong category? Do I get penalized for that? Well, I hate to say it, but there has been some rumblings and there's been some authors that have reported to me, including I seen a YouTuber, her name's author Sarah Sutton, that she had discussed having her book improperly categorized, and she didn't even select this category that they said she was in. By having it in the wrong category, that you are trying to manipulate the system of some sort, and they will just go ahead and just terminate accounts according to that. So everybody's probably freaking out right about now. Don't freak out. Go over to a website called booklink.com. That's BKLNK.com, 100% free site. You're going to go into their category finder and put in the ASIN to your book. That's the identifier that you're going to find inside your KDP dashboard for your specific title. But you're going to paste into that category finder on booklink.com in the category finder, and it'll tell you all the categories that you have associated with it. By the way, you can contact support as well, and they'll tell you all the browse paths that are associated to your title. If you see one that is not appropriate, like you're like, my book does not belong in this one, immediately get a hold of support inside the contact us at the bottom of your dashboard and tell them, remove this category from this ASIN. Now, conversely speaking, if you find categories that really work for your title, you can also ask for your title to be put into it, because you get up to 10 categories per product type. So that is for ebooks 10, you get 10 for your paperback, and you get 10 for your hardcover edition. What about image rights on book covers? Now, this one was actually a question that was generally asked by some people, so I figured I'd get this one out the gate here. Now, this actually comes from a good friend of mine, Michael Laron. He's actually of the channel Author Level Up, and he actually explained that it's a good idea and a good business practice that, let's say, for instance, you hire somebody on Fiverr, or you go over to Miblart, or you head on over to Formatted Books, any one of those services. If they go and purchase the image rights to sell to you, they've got the licensing rights. As soon as it comes over to you, technically you don't have those rights just yet. So it's a good idea, if you find out whatever source material that your cover designer is using, find out where that's at, and then get the image rights for that. And sometimes it's not very much at all. You're not looking at having to spend thousands of dollars, usually maybe like a couple bucks or something like that. But it's a good idea to get the image rights for that, so that way if for some reason you're pushed back on this. Now, if you're using public domain or Creative Commons images, you're gonna run into some issues, because it is freely available online. There's gonna be a lot of people already using it, and in some instances, Amazon's crawler might actually find those images and say, this is freely available online, what are you doing using this? So what I would recommend for things like public domain and Creative Commons is make sure that you're altering the image somewhat, so that way it's unique to you, so you're really exercising fair use in instances like this. Not that you have to do that for public domain and Creative Commons, it's just a way to get it to where you're still abiding by the rules with Amazon KDP and not setting off a bunch of bells and whistles and alarms and things like that. So any rates, also it's a good idea to do attribution, whether or not you've paid for the image or you haven't paid for the image. Put it into your copyright page and explain where your source is, who made this image, and that you do have the rights to use that. I've received 2 emails telling me that this may lead to a negative customer experience. Have you had any experience with that at all? Nope, not once. In fact, if you had a notification such as this, that's because customers hit the report abuse button. Now, this is not me trying to admonish you or make you feel bad or dumb or anything else like that, but if your product is so poor in quality, there is a report abuse button on your product page, and if enough customers report that legitimately, it could actually get your product taken down and probably the book blocked, and in some instances terminated, which I've known of many self-publishers over the years who, well, didn't hire a good editor or get a good editor or edit their manuscript whatsoever, and they published it onto the marketplace, only to find out that the customers didn't like it, and then they in turn got their account shut down. I have a question. I'm publishing my life story. I go into details about rape, abuse, and porn. I have a warning in the beginning. Do you think it would still ban me? I can only speculate on this, but I will tell you this, that those 3 words are a very hot topic, especially when it comes to publishing on Amazon KDP and their terms and conditions. They explicitly state that they don't want that graphic style stuff there. So what I would say is, if you're really curious, reach out to KDP support. But in an instance like that, I'm going to tell you that if it's pornography, it's going to be a no. If it's rape, it's probably going to be a no. Now, when it comes to abuse, that's going to be a different thing. It just depends on the type of abuse and the level of violence and graphic nature to it. Reach out to KDP support, ask them for any kind of clarity. I would recommend no. And the final question is, can you please teach us more about other publishing companies, systems, platforms so we make good informed choices? You got it for sure. In fact, there's 9 other best self-publishing platforms beyond Amazon KDP that you want to learn about in this very next video. I'll see you there.